they know where you're coming from, and to listen to them, and you know where they're coming from and where they've been through. So the biggest thing before you can get any work done, no matter what ideals you have to understand that who's in your district, and just to build those relationships and listen and understand and be open to the people that you're with.
Mr. Neal?
Great ideas already expressed, but I sort of want to expand just a little bit on that and say that much like you were talking, our Career Center is fabulous, but I think we can expand the offerings and find a way to have students actually see more of what we have to offer and get them excited about becoming involved in those programs. Also, much as my colleagues have mentioned, we do need to increase our enrollment. And there is a mechanism, I think, that is there that we can expand on, and that we do have online programs for students to use from home, to be trained at home, a program that can be much advertised and expanded and would help a great deal in providing more students for us. Thank you.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As my colleagues have said, there are a lot of things that we need to work on, especially with the new strategic plan and things like this. But I would say to you, or any superintendent coming into this district with what we have recently been through, that we need someone who will listen, someone who will take the time to build that back and forth relationship that will help our teachers and our administrators to feel part of that process rather than being dictated to.
And Dr. Sear, I think that is job one. All of the other things that have been talked about tonight most certainly have to be done. But they can't be done by one person alone. They have to be done by all of the people that work in the school district. And we have lost many quality people. And through tumult. I mean, no reason for the loss. But they didn't feel a part of what we were doing. And we need to heal that. We need for people to feel they're valued, and so they can be part of the synergy of growth and change that we're all looking for. So that all begins at the top. And those relationships need to be mended, and I think that's the first thing that has to be done, but I certainly mirror what all my colleagues have said. So you still have some time.
So I would just love to touch on the healing piece and the listening piece, because I would agree, and all of the things that everyone has said are all pretty much district-wide in any district. In particular, in the spirit of transparency, it sounds like there have been some very difficult and challenging times politically, with student loss, with teacher loss, and staff loss, and so I'm sorry for that, because that's very difficult. And that too is a grieving process for those who are left behind. And so when you talked about listening, I think it's critical that a superintendent listen to understand and not listen to respond. And so that is a pivotal piece in making sure that everyone has a voice and that everyone is understood, and that there are many platforms and many opportunities to do that. And so I would absolutely agree, and I have experience in that. So, I've been in a large scale in town hall meetings when we've had to allow the grieving process to take place when we closed 4 elementary schools at one time. Talk about a devastation to a community. And then we were all strategically poised to be able to be in breakout sessions to then, we weren't going to change the fact that we were closing those schools. Student population and our demographics couldn't allow for us to keep them open. But then it was important to figure out, how do we turn this funeral-like piece into a celebration? How do we have your voice be heard as a parent or a teacher or a staff member? How do we make sure so we're closing, but now what? What do we do, and how do we meet your needs and the needs of kids into a different structure or a different opportunity? And so I have experience at that at the elementary level, and I have experience at that at the high school level. And so with those 4 schools combined was pretty close to the size of closing a high school. And so it can be a devastating thing in a community, and it takes time to get over that. So it can't be just that, okay, cross it off the list, we met, we talked about it, it's done. You really need to give that opportunity for the grieving process to occur, and then for those strong relationships to happen. And so in relationship, it's really about understanding each other. And you asked about the union president. She and I have a fabulous working relationship, but there's sometimes where we don't see eye to eye. I've learned more from her in terms of just listening to an opposing thought and seeing how we can find some sort of happy ground. And so if we don't have strong relationships in a school district, you're absolutely right. There's not a strong, firm, rooted starting point to be able to achieve all of the other things that everyone has talked about. And so if I was your chosen superintendent, I would work diligently to make sure that I ensured strong relationships at all levels, in all bargaining units, within the parent group and the community group, because that truly is, I think, one of the prime jobs of this position.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I have to tell you that I believe that everything in life happens for a reason. I think that life truly is about 3 things. It's about passion, timing, and fit. And as I mentioned, the passion I hope you've seen come through in the work that I've done and the work that I would be willing to do for you. In terms of timing, I feel ready. I'm ready from a family standpoint. I'm ready from a professional standpoint. And in terms of fit, I welcome the challenge. And so I would take on with the same fervor getting those test scores up, because it keeps me awake at night. And so we have quite the plan to make sure that we're digging deep, we're digging into actual questions, how often these questions are being asked on our different standardized tests. And then, so where are the kids missing the mark? Are they missing the mark in the curriculum delivery? Are they missing the mark in terms of language acquisition? Where are they missing the mark? Because I absolutely, by the time I finish in this time of education, I want to see a huge change. We do have bright kids. Why are they not succeeding? So it's bestowed upon us to give them every opportunity to make that happen. And so I would be vehemently committed to making that happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to leave you with 2 pieces, if I may. I put together a portfolio of artifacts, and it certainly outlines examples of many of the questions that you asked, from professional development that I have offered to data digs and data protocols, the work that I've done with for Next Generation Learning. It shows highlights that we have, points of pride in the district, shows community involvement, shows some of the competitive grants that I've achieved. So that's a composite. And then in the red folder that I'm leaving with you, it's my 90-day plan. And so there's an abridged version, just a quick PowerPoint, and then there's a 5-page document that outlines in quite a comprehensive way how I would tackle a 90-day comprehensive plan, deeply rooted in listening and relationships.
You're
And
certainly welcome to do that.
Thank you. On the right, it just has, and I know you've already been given that, but my letters of recommendation, letters of intent, and my resume.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here we go. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Board of Education will now take a brief recess of 10 or 15 minutes in order to allow the board to review the audience feedback forms that so many of you have completed in preparation of the next step of this process, which will involve a deliberation, thank you, for the selection of the next phase. So we will stand in recess for 10 to 15 minutes.